All right. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Good to see everybody. Let me know if my volume's a little bit too loud. I might turn down just a touch here so that it's about there. Yeah, my new microphone's a little bit loud. Figuring that out the other day. So if it's too loud, let me know. Alrighty. So back in the career build series 2025, probably 2026 at some point here soon. But last time we left off, kind of took a little break here as went and did a bunch of stuff for Alistair's challenge. I did release my build for that, so go ahead and take a look at that. That's out in the workshop. My finest workshop ever, I think. I put a lot of effort in that workshop page, so go check that out as well. Go support Alistair in the challenge. The challenge is a lot of work, so that's good. And check out everybody's builds for the challenge. But go ahead here, and so kind of where we left off, I kind of watched the end of the video I did last time for the career build series 2025. And so what we were doing was we have the beginner base here, and we pretty much have one little boat. And then I kind of want to get into a seaplane so that we could kind of do some more far-flung missions. I'm in the custom game here, just working on this, and I kind of want to catch up, see where I'm at. This boat was working really, really well. This flying boat. Working really well. Got a bunch of stuff to do. I'm going to probably make some notes here. I wish I had a notepad on me, but I don't. Wish I had some paper. Usually I keep some paper. Let me see if I can find some paper real quick. I like just writing it out in paper. Yeah, trying to write this down and then makes it a little bit easier just to take some notes and have everything I need. But yeah, so the plan is to have this seaplane that I kind of go far-flung missions. I'd like to get that new loader I made into the career game. So we'll kind of go over some of the stuff we have to do on this build here. I need some doors. Let's put that in there. All right, needs doors, needs panel work. Need to remove and hide. I'll just say outside stuff. So kind of get to there. Let's go ahead and take this for a flight. Kind of see where we're at, and then we can work on some of the systems. Real kind of basic in here so far, but the aircraft works really, really well. So I think I have to set this. We need power. Let's go infinite gear, infinite electricity on. I think it was about 0.3 something for takeoff. Start the engines up. All right, so there we go. We're started. This is really very fast, a very fast airplane. So that's nice. And it works already on the water, but there are some things to do to seaplanes to make them work better on the water, so we're going to do a bunch of that. You know, it kind of has some features I wanted. I wanted to push your configuration. It has that. Kind of wanted that goose nose on it, or the mallard nose on it. It has that. Alright, so there we go. We're up. Go ahead and put the flaps back up. It's fast. It's really pretty damn fast. This is shooting somewhere in the neighborhood of 200, I think it was like 60 or 70 knots. It's pretty fast. And then I can go into a more efficient mode and save a lot more fuel. I can land on the water. I can take off in the water already. Bunch of stuff I got to add, but it's in good shape. I really like the way the gear turned out. So let's work on the gear. I want to get this kind of flyable where I can, you know, if you remember what we were doing before with the boat, I would go to a mission, then I'd work on the boat. So I want to get this kind of in the same arena where I can work on it. I can go to a mission and then come in and do a little work on it. And so we want to get it to that kind of place. And so getting some of these systems fixed so that it, for example, it doesn't need infinite electricity, that would be a big get for that. So let's work on the gear. Let's go ahead and take a look at the gear and how they'll function. So this is the lock for the gear. And then we have Gear just folds up pretty simply. As you see, it flushes out into the engine nacelle, and right there looks pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. Locks up very stable on the ground. We have gear doors here, and then the nose wheel goes up, and they shut. So all that we're gonna kind of program in and get running. I'm gonna do it from scratch. That would be the better way to do it. So let's do that. All right, so I might have a gear panel already, but let me look. Piston single, piston single. Rudder control. Why is the rudder control not hooked up then? Definitely that's not hooked up yet. Okay. Tilt sensor. Okay, I'm going to change it over to physics. That is lighting. That is gear. Now, what is this? Gear. Let's look at this. All right, so that's the gear position. Those are the doors. Gear there. All right, so that has a threshold there for the doors. All right, let's see. And I would need something for the unlock. So there's doors, there's gear, gear position. All right. So this actually, I can use this panel. This will be pretty easy. I can actually just widen this out anyway, so that's fine. All right, we will add a down locks. All right, down locks there. That's an output. All right, good. So when I press 2, 2 is the 2 triggers this. That's gonna trigger the down locks to unlock the gear. All right, that's the position of the gear. All right, let's see what we can do here. Gear position, this is the doors. They'll go to 1 when that's out of... That should all work pretty well. So let's go ahead and do this. So it's pretty much done. All right, down locks are going to go here. That's going to be release. Release. And then we have the doors, which are here and here. Make sure that that was 0 to 1. It was. Lovely, lovely. I have a tutorial on how I do my gear, so you can follow that if you're interested. We get that going. That's fine. All right, good. And then just to gear. So here's gear. Gear can go to both sets here. So we've got the motor here and here. And also to here and here. Make sure that was 0 to 1. That is. Okay, perfect. And then we need to read off of these. So current rotation can come up here. That's all set up. All right, good. So hopefully that should just work kind of out of the box. And when I press the gear switch, they should function. We're going to go ahead and... All right, that's good. All right, those are going to slap into place. I don't want those to bang into place until, so let's do essentially this. They're going at the same rate. So what I can do is, so release the down locks. Let's see. So let's see. We have the doors open. Let's try this. That's doors open. So we essentially want the down locks when the doors are closed. So we would do not. And then I should be able to run the down locks off of this. So we're doing not down locks. And that way, instead of it snapping into place, when the nose wheel gets into its, hey, how's it going there, Jay? How are you? When the nose wheel gets into the down position and the doors close again, that's when it will lock the mains down so they're not snapping into position. So let's try that. I could probably speed up the gear just a little bit. It's 0.01. Let's make it double, 5 times as fast. It's probably too fast. Okay, I still don't like the way those are snapping into position. So let's see. This does not have a down. Does this have a down lock? I can't tell. I don't think it does. No, that doesn't have a down lock. No down lock on this one. Let's see. Try to go read this position. Got a pain in the ass to get in here, but yeah, I'm not gonna be able to get in there. I gotta put a dial on there. I just don't like the way that the it's kind of slamming the gear into position. So I want to read what the down position is. It is 0. So let's say when it is less than 0.00001. 0.000. It's 4 zeros 1. All right, 4 zeros 1. So I don't want to locking those up. I want to release the down locks. When it's this, maybe when it's this and that. No, that's not gonna work. I have to think of the logic of this real quick. So I want it when the up button is pressed. I definitely want the down locks released. So X or let's see, low threshold is going to be high threshold is going to be 0.001. Okay, and that will be Y, X or Y. Let's try that. Again, I'm trying to just get these down locks not to snap in a position. I don't like that. All right, good. All right, so they go up. See, they're still snapping into position. Why are they still snapping into position? Let me slow this down just a hair again. Let's do... I want to be able to have one button gear to get this kind of going. See how they snap in a position? Not a fan, but at least that's kind of, it's not causing it problems, and I think that gear speed's probably better. It's a good gear speed. All right, good. All right, I'm happy with it. All right, good. So that gets rid of all that nonsense. So we have good working gear now. Could you not just use a... No, you don't want to use a capacitor for gear, because if any of the timing gets screwed up, say, for example, you go play in a multiplayer game, if your timing's a little bit off, it's not going to work. You don't want to use a capacitor. Go follow my gear tutorial. The best thing to do for gear is you take the representative position of the gear, which comes out of here. This tells you what the position of the gear is. So if the gear is in transit, it opens the doors. If gear is not in transit, the doors are closed. So if the gear is either down or up, the doors are open or closed. Capacitor is one of the worst ways to do it, because the problem is you have to get the timing right. I literally took this panel off another aircraft. So I can take this off any aircraft, and because it's based off the position of the wheels, it works on any aircraft. If you do a capacitor, every time you do a new aircraft, if the timing of the gear is different, you have to sit there and test and time and then change the capacitor. So no, I think capacitor is one of the worst ways you can do it. I highly recommend against doing capacitors. Yeah, so no, I'm very much against capacitors for that. This is the best way to do it, is use the gear position. So wherever the gear is, if the gear is in position, that's when you would trigger the movement. So that's the best way to do it. Let's see, lighting, what do we have on here? I think it is... Yeah, so that's why I don't use capacitors, is it's you have to change timing for everything. It's kind of a more basic way of doing it. It just does not work well over time. All right, red, right, wrong. So that's on the left. That's my way I remember it, is red, right, wrong. And then that's how I remember which side the nav lights are. I don't like these rotating beacons, I found out, so we will not use those. Yeah, light. It's gonna be my beacon. I prefer this for the beacon. Where are you at there? Landing lights, nav lights. Okay, navs. Navs, we've got strobes. All right, strobes are plumbed. Beacon. All right, that's good. That is landing lights. Did I put landing lights on? I can't remember. Yes, they're right there on the front of the pontoons. There. I might put more landing lights on at some point. Let's see. Okay, so that's done. I gotta hook up the rudder system here. Rudder control, auto. Let's see. Check this. All right, so auto rudder tune value 2.2, number to gyro there. Okay, rudder tilt sensor. I gotta put in a tilt sensor. I'm gonna change out to a physics sensor. Physics sensor. Composite input there for a physics sensor. I gotta remember what is the tilt on that. Hello, Daniel. How are you? Good to see you. All right, let's quickly save this. My mining loader is released for Alistair's challenge. That's everything's due tomorrow, so got that done. Got the workshop page done. That's good. So CBS 25 Seaplane 3. All right, CBS 25 Seaplane 3. CBS 25 Seaplane 3. And then today's date 12. What are we talking? 5. Oh, it's moving right along. All right, good. That's saved up. You got a physics sensor in. I've got a tilt for this, so let me see. I got a tester for this. Come on. Click on the button 3 times. It's this here. No, that's not it. This is it. I always forget which axis this works, so that's the physics sensor there, and that's the tilt sensor. And so I just tilt it, and then I can see Z, X, and then so it's going to be the X axis. So tilt sensor. You can see these are the same. And so it should be X. So let's see. Yeah. I need to see which one it is. So it's X, which is 16. You see they're the same there, so that's 16. All right, good. So I need channel 16 on the physics sensor. Do I have a physics sensor yet? I don't think I do. There's my CG right there. We'll go right here. How's that not centered? There we go. That's fine there. All right. All right, good. All right, so we'll go physics sensor up to that. And then we need to read 16. All right, there we go. So what this is going to do is, the way a plane really turns is the upwind wing wants to go faster than the downwind wing. And so it causes you to turn by just rolling. You don't kick the rudder. In game, that doesn't work, so we got to add in some rudder. And so this will account for that. So it's kind of like it's an auto rudder, essentially. And so as I turn left, the plane should turn left, should roll left to go left, and I don't have to kick the rudder myself. Especially in a twin, you don't get this. You don't have to coordinate like you do in a single, and all you're doing is you're coordinating. You're not still turning with the rudder in a single, but definitely not a twin. Twin, like the jets I fly, twins I've flown, you just put your feet flat on the floor when you're flying. You don't kick the rudder. You know, I only use the rudder for landing. Bearing control, okay, that's good. Lights, gear. Electric fuel, flaperons, gyro. Did I have flaperons in here? No, not yet. Okay, I'll put something. I don't think I'm going to use flaperons. I'll just use flaps. But, all right, good. That's good. The other thing we need to add in this is, so the best way to get a plane out of the water and to behave properly, I showed this in the last video, for seaplane in game, is you want to use some fins. And those fins, when they're in the water, you want those fins to be full up. And what that's going to do is that's going to push the boat to the top of the water column and keep it there. And as soon as you get out of the water, they'll level off, and they won't cause any lift. So what we'll do is, since this compartment here is completely out of the water, I'm going to add some fins. And we could try with just, we could try by just doing this with the front. And because usually the rear doesn't have a problem. So we'll go just in the front to start with. And really all we need to do is put in what I would call a water sensor. And let's find it. That is the, where is the, all right, right there. So make sure I didn't kill that. Good. And then we want to take a water sensor. So all we need is a liquid meter. And if the number is positive, it means we're in the water. If the number is not, positive, it means we're out of the water. So essentially it works as a water sensor. Are we in the water or not? How's it going there, Billy Goat? Yeah, this is Stormworks Build and Rescue. You can see if you look on YouTube too, it will show you what the game is. But Stormworks Build and Rescue. I've got like 7,000 hours in this game. It's a fantastic game. All right, so what we'll do is grab a blank microcontroller here. Let's make up a essentially a water sensor system. So this is going to be the water sensor. All right, water sensor. All right, real simple. All we're doing is we're bringing in the fluid meter. So that's a number input. Fluid meter. All right. And then all we're doing is we're doing a number output to the fins. Fins. All right, and so really simply, you can do this with a clamp. So it's going to be real simple of X. So X, comma, and then you want your clamp value. So what I want is when I'm in the water, it's going to show me a positive number. And the fins can only go to 1. So I don't really need to clamp it out. I could let it run all the way up to millions, billions, but there's no point. So the low number is going to be 0. I don't want the fins to ever go negative to pull the aircraft down. I just want it to go positive when we're in the water. And then for the water, I'm going to make it a maximum of 1. So the number is going to go super duper high when we're in the water, and my fins max out at 1. So I could leave that, blank or whatever, but I need a 0 because I don't want the fins to go down and drag us down into the, down in the air essentially when we get out of the water. And so that's all we need to do is fluid meter, clamp of the bottom value 0, 1. If you need to figure out how to run these things, you can go through here. These are all, we'll show you how to do these things, and you can find under add-on, you have, is it add-on or convert? It's add-on. You'll have a clamp right here, clamp, and so you're clamping X, which is the fluid meter reading, between the values of Y and Z. Y the low value, Z the high value. So low value is going to be no less than 1. Max value is 1. And that goes out to the fins. So real simple microcontroller there to do this. That goes to the fluid meter. And you want to go, you don't want to do capacity, you want to do level. And then that goes right out to the fins. And so when we're in the water, that's going to cause those fins to come up. And that will take care of your issues. I wish I didn't have to kick somebody every 5 seconds in Twitch. It's really annoying. Because it's all bots. Twitch is just full of bots. I had to ban 2 already. Just stupid. All right, there we go. So yeah, so that's that will help with the drag of the water. The drag in the water, you don't plane up like you would IRL as well. And so the drag of the water will cause your nose to kind of dig into the water, and then you can cartwheel. This plane doesn't really have that issue, but this is a way to get around it. Is the fins, when they go in the water, will give you extra lift in the water and kind of hydroplane you as you speed up. It will pick you up in the water, and you'll skim along the top. It will make it easier to unstick from the water. So that's in there. Let's go ahead and do a quick flight landing. I want to test out the the turning now with the rudder system fixed in the plane, and then I want to test out the fins. All right, good. I got the engines turned up way too high here coming out of here. I gotta fix that lock. You can hear the lock going off. I gotta fix that. It's just gonna be annoying. So we're gonna go in the water. Yeah, you see the doors are going too. All right, so now the fins should be angled up all the way now. I'm gonna put the gear up. Did I delete? I wonder if I deleted a rocket motor because it's floating funny now. So now we're gonna start to thrust up. And before, like literally my hands are off the keyboard. And so before, the nose of the craft, because of the drag of the water, would dig into the water. Now, if you notice, my hands are literally off the keyboard, and we're sitting nicely in the water because those fins are causing that the bow to come out of the water. And so this makes it really easy to get out of the water. And you can see we can start to come out. There we go. And we don't dig into the water. So it's a real simple thing to fix that problem. All right, so we're going to turn. As you can see, let's see what's up with this. Okay, it's backwards. You can see it's going backwards. It should be going the other way. So that's backwards, so I got to fix that. You can see the rudder's going the incorrect direction, so I got to fix that. That's an easy fix. And so when I land in the water, which we'll go full flap for. When I land in the water, those fins on the nose are going to, they're going to increase. And it's going to make it so that we skip along the top of the water. We don't dig in and cartwheel. And so now we're in. Let me go ahead and I'll bring the engines all the way back. Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with one of the rocket motors. I got to fix that. All right, got a couple things to do here. Let's write it down on my list. So let's see, rocket motor, rear. So if you don't know what the rocket motors are, essentially you can put in negative mass, and that's what that is. All right, let's go ahead, and I'm going to do this real quick here. Just going to go back to this for now. I'll play with this later, just so it's not making a ton of noise. Rudder control, let's see. All right, auto-tune rudder is 2.2. Let's see. All right, so we'll kind of explain this. You have the physics sensor, which is giving you a value, and it's then multiplying it times a multiplication factor. So I have it at 2.2 here, and then that's adding any input I add. So I can overpower the rudder by adding more rudder. So if I need to kick the rudder to straighten the nose out on a landing, on a crosswind, I can do that. So a couple ways I can do this. I can put negative x, which is probably what I'll do. Negative x. And that's going to invert that number, and now the rudder should turn in the correct direction. Rocket motor, I got to figure out what's up with that. Because we should have one... Did the one in the rear get deleted somehow? I don't see it. Thought we had two. Thought we had two. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Did I lose my rocket motors? Oh, they're in here. Okay, they're right here and here. I want the back to float a little bit better. I could add some mass. Could add some more mass to the front. That's what I might do here. All right, let's go ahead and we'll taxi it out in the water again, and we'll see how it sits in the water. All right, we're going to taxi out, and so what we want is we want the tail to come up a little bit when we're sitting still. I do like that we have this little beach here so I can taxi out into the water. Alright, so I probably need a little bit of rocket motor in the back. Because I don't want to weigh that front up too much. Alright, let's put the gear up. We get transits, and then they should go red when the gear are locked up. There we go. Alright, good. So I'm just going to start increasing the thrust, and I'm going to keep my hands off the pitch. So because that fin is in the nose, you know, this is where a lot of people have problems with their seaplanes in game. My hands are off the keyboard now. I'm literally touching nothing. And those fins are keeping the nose from digging in. So, again, there are solutions in game for the problems you have in game. So if your problem is that the friction of the water is causing your nose to dig in, well, you can use those fins to help bring that nose up. I'm going to just keep increasing the thrust. And now I'm going to use the elevator. And so because we're skimming the water, it's less friction, and eventually we break friction, we take off. All right, so now we're going to test the turning. So let's get rid of some flap here. All right. So now we're going to just make a left-hand turn just with roll. I'm not touching the rudder at all. Now the rudder's turning in the correct direction. As I roll more, we should bank faster. So that's not enough. I need something probably about there. So I need a larger number. I'll make it so that I can do it. So you can see it working, but it's just not enough at the moment. So what we'll do here is let's bring this back. And what I usually do is we'll put on a node on here that I can control. All right, we want to take this auto-tune rudder here, and we want to put in the multiplication number. but we want to do it with a number I can input. So we're just going to make that one wider. And we'll make a number input. And this is right, rudder multiplier. And then this for now is going to go where this is. And I'll use that keypad on the dash to multiply that out. We need to merge that up. Merge, you sucker. It went the wrong way, that's why. Alright, there we go. We want to put our keypad on there. Alright, so it was 2.2 before, so all we have to do is keep adding to that. So we'll try 2.2, and that will be our baseline, and then I'll keep increasing it until it goes right now. A standard rate turn at a certain bank should give you a 180-degree turn in 60 seconds. So, you know, you can pretty easily time it so that a standard rate turn gives you that, and it will be what it would be IRL. So. Just take off from the land, as we don't need to do the water here. All right, we're up. All right, so this is at 2.2 is where it was last time. And so needs more than that, huh? All right, there we go. So that's starting to get where it needs to be. So as I get to about a, probably what's about a 20-degree bank, you see the rudder is coming in. And it's doing what would naturally happen aerodynamically that the game just doesn't simulate properly. And so eventually when I get a compass in there, I will tune it so that that 180-degree turn takes me a minute. So now we roll right. And just rolling the wings causes the aircraft to turn, just like it should. And the more I roll, the more it comes in. You see that rudder increasing? So if I go steeper, we get a tighter turn. So all I'm doing is rolling and pulling back with pitch to maintain altitude. That's it. Just like you would in a real plane. And so if I do a tiny bank, I'm going to do a real slow turn. If I do more bank, I get a faster turn, just like you would in real life. So, all right. I get full flap in here. And I can also kick the rudder, like I'm doing now, to slip or skid the aircraft and get more turn. And then the main reason you're using a rudder, especially in a twin, is to straighten out the nose in a crosswind or counteract if you had single engine. I've got no speed indication here, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I don't think I have brakes. I'm not going to do any reverse thrust on this. An aircraft like this wouldn't have reverse thrust, so. Just a tiny bit of rudder there at the end to straighten out the crosswind correction. That's it. And I have no brakes, so I'm just kind of steering it to try to not hit things. All right, good. So that's coming out well. Well, I would need a compass to be able to tell what a standard rate turn is. You know, makes it a hell of a lot easier to go from 360 to 360 to get it figured out. All right, so what did I put in? 5? So that was 5. We'll leave that in there for now. That's not, that was worked pretty well. All right, there we go. And then we can get rid of this. And we can bring it back. All right, good. So that rudder is now tuned in. And I'll do more tuning when I can get it set up the way it should be. Because I need an attitude indicator to know where standard rate turn is. Yeah, you got a lot that would have it. I don't really want it in this one. I have it in other flying boats, but I wouldn't put it in this one. What do I want here? All right, I need to fix the fact that this is not sitting correctly. All right, rocket here in the rear. All right, I'm gonna put this burn rate can go there. We're gonna put that at 99. I'm gonna save it. I want to take a little mass off the tail because that's currently sitting too low in the water. All right, so we're looking for a fuel factor of 0.99. There it is right there. So let's go minus 100. We'll save that. All right. And then I'm going to change where my base is so that I can just spawn this in the water. Makes it a hell of a lot quicker to test. All right, there we go. Why did it... Okay, why did it autosave? This should be the most up-to-date version, not the... Oh, because I launched it, that's why. Okay, that's fine. So it should be this one here. Okay, this should be the one. Let's double check. Yep. Okay, that's the one. So I'm just trying to get the tail out of the water a little bit. There we go. So that's too much at negative 100. I don't know. It might be all right, actually. That's not too bad. That's not too bad, actually. I'd like to bring it up a little bit, so we'll work on that. I gotta see what are in the pontoons. What I'm gonna do is cut out some of this mass out of here. See how that sits. All right, so now, yeah, that's good, and I'll decrease the ass a little bit there. All right, good. So let's save this. Okay. We'll bring up the, where's the backup? All right, so now we can fix this with the number I had in there. All right, so negative 100. Let's do negative 250. All right, that's better. So it's shifting, you know, picking that tail up a little bit. It's lightening out the tail. Could probably add a little bit of mass to the front. This is what I'm going to do. This might be my new technique here. So what I'm going to do here is on this one here on the left, I'm going to make the burn rate. Let's make it 3. Let's make the burn rate on this one 3. Or actually, we'll make it 2. Make this one burn rate 2, because I can see in the editor what the burn rate is, and it will tell me which one I'm working with. So this one will be 3. And then I'm going to add some weight, and I want to get it as low and as forward as possible so I don't have to add a ton, and I want to keep the CG low. So we'll keep the burn rate down to 1. That'll be 99. So now I know which one it is in the editor. So, all right, good. All right, we got this one updated here. All right, so let's find all the fuel factors. All right, so this here, and so if we look at burn rate, this one's 3. So we know 3 is in the tail. So that one, why did that go to there? Let me check. Did I put that in the wrong way? No, that's 1. 3 should definitely be in the tail. 3. That one's 2. That one's 2. Okay. Did it get changed by accident? All right, so this one is 3. Probably because I touched the sliders, it might have screwed them up. Let me see. That's a 101. A 1. Huh. Okay, let's see. That one's 0.99. That's the nose one. That's burn rate of 1. That's fine. This is burn rate of 3. That's in the back. Why is that only there? Let's do negative 250. Save that. And I don't see where the 2s are. Is this one of the 2s here? Yeah, okay, here's 2. These got screwed up. Okay. Oh, stop it. Pain in the ass this is. Which one's this now? That one's 1. We'll make this one 250. That'll be a positive number. That'll be negative 250 in the rear. Yep. I gotta find my 2s. Negative 500 is a 2. And this has got to be the other negative. This has got to. Okay, so this is the other negative 500. That could be too much. I can't remember the numbers because I overwrote them. But I can replay with the numbers now. I gotta replay with them anyways, seeing them screwing with it. Alright, that's saved. Let's see. Alright, so we got a little bit of added mass in the nose. I need to take a little bit more out of the tail, just a touch. I just want it I don't want the rudder in the water. I kind of want this part here sticking out. That's all I really want. But it's sitting pretty well. So let's do this. Let's go back in there. All right, this one is going to be, we'll do negative 600. This one is 1. This is the front. 250 is fine. Negative 250 is the back. Let's make that negative 350. All right, let's save that. You got to make sure you open it because that one's not the actual saved one. All right, so you see that's sitting up higher now. That's about where I want it. Pontoons are just barely sitting on the water. That's pretty good. It's going to be very light now, so you got to kind of be careful. But, you know, flying boat this small, you go stand on the wingtips, it's going to do this with a person's weight anyway, because that's a lot of lever arm. Because you figure this, the elevator's doing that, or the aileron, rather, is doing that when you turn. So let's do this. I think what I'm going to do... I'm going to go back to negative 500 on these. $250 in the nose. Let's do 150 in the nose. I don't want to add too much mass up front. And then negative 350. Let's make that negative 450. So take a lot of mass out of the rear. Okay, that's saved up. Let's see what we got here. I'm just kind of shifting the center of gravity around and also deleting total mass. So there we go. Because I don't want to shift too much mass forward. So just a little bit of ballast in the nose is fine, but I don't want a ton of it in there. All right, so let's keep working on this. I want to get this right. So 450, let's make that negative 550 in the back. And then let's make this 400 and 400. Still trying to get that tail out of the water a little bit. I want the whole plane to be a little bit heavier, but I want to shift it forward there. So now the pontoons are touching the water again. This is sitting a little low in the back. Might have to add a little bit of mass in the nose. Could raise the whole tail section up too. Let's try to play with that. All right, so let's, this is saved. Let's change bases here. Because again, it's got to fit in this base for my career game. Thanks, Al. Glad you like it. Won't be able to play for too much longer, but let's see. All right, so let's bring this in here, and then it's all the way in the bottom. Let's see how much more tail I can add. I can't go up too much, I don't think. Well, actually, I can do a bit. I can go up 2. So I can go up 2 blocks, so let's do this. Which actually works pretty well, because I want to turn this 3 into a 4. So we'll go up 2 and back 1. Up 2 and back 1. All right. Up 2, back 1. Back 1. Up 2. Oh, shit. Up 1 there, I guess. Try that. That's going to shift some mass rearward because, of course, we change our lever arm. And then I got to pretty much go to 2s there if I'm going to do that. Okay. I have to push that back 1. Steepen the rake like that. Looks all right. All right. All right, I like that. That's fine. And then that will help a little bit. Yeah, I have a step toll. There's a step toll on it already. So because, oh Jesus Christ, I hate how it drops it after it puts it in the other base. So because this, so you got to think about lever arms, right? So we push the tail back. Now, even though the empennage section really doesn't weigh that much, we pushed it back, and so that increased the lever arm a little bit. So, you know, as you can see, it's now sticking out of the water quite a bit. We're not dragging the rudder in the water. I like that. That's got a good look to it. Didn't really destroy the look or anything. I like it. So it's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm digging that. That works pretty well. I like the way it's sitting. Let's go take it off. Make sure I want the pontoons just barely touching when they're in the when it's sitting in the water. All right, good. I like it. All right, good. Do a water takeoff here. So it's got the fins in the front already that give it that little bit of extra lift in the nose when it gets up to speed. So here it comes up on step. Let's get the gear up. So my hands are off the control. So like you got a lot of people that have these problems with their flying boats in game that you know the nose digging in. Again, do it the same way you do with a boat and just put some fins in the nose. and it's via water sense. You don't want those fins fully up when you get in the air because it's going to pitch too much. So what happens with this, if you weren't around when I did it, you know, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, it's got a fluid meter in the bottom of the plane, and that will read a negative number when you're out of the water and a positive number when you're in the water, and you just clamp it 0 to 1, and now the fins in the nose, because they are because the water sensor is in the water, they're helping that nose come out of the water. So literally, hands are still off. I haven't touched it in a while. I'm just going to start to thrust up. Now you'll notice it is going to try to go down a little bit, but you have the aerodynamic advantage. You have enough speed, you can use the elevators to help pick that nose up. So, you know, and that was with me not putting any elevator input. As you thrust up, you start picking that nose up more. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up the flaps. Up those, putting down the flaps. Intuitively, it's moving the wrong way. Flaps down are usually back, and then flaps up are usually forward. But it's fast too. This is, I'll put a linear speed back in here. But I'm digging it. It's working out well. I may or may not put doors in the sides. I have a door on top. I may just leave it like that. All right, let's do a landing in the water. So we'll start bringing the thrust back. Start pushing the flaps. Just as in real life, any pitch power configuration changes, you need to trim. So here comes the trim I need because I just put full flaps in. Right, the flaps are giving you lift, and the flaps are, if you can see where the center of gravity is, right, the flaps are behind the center of gravity, right? So I'm having to trim that nose down a little bit there. All right, we'll start to come down. We'll do a quick landing in the water. Don't know which direction the wind's coming from. Should be landing into the wind. And also, so as soon as that water sensor touches the water, it's going to cause the fins in the nose to go max up. And that's going to give me a... and that's going to make it so that it helps that nose up and we don't go, you know, like submarining into the water. So in-game, the flaps add a lot of lift. They don't add enough drag. And so one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my anti-flaps, and essentially they go right in front of the flaps. As the flaps come down and increase your lift, the anti-flaps they essentially they go the opposite direction. So they're just adding a lot more drag. And so as the flaps are giving you lift, pushing you up, the anti-flaps are pulling you down and giving you a lot of drag. And so it gives them much more realistic behavior, because you see how much I have nose down? Because the flaps are so powerful, I'm needing a lot of nose down attitude. And so by doing some anti-flaps, you don't need that nose down attitude as much. So you see, I just have too much lift right now. It's like I have to go really nose low, and so anti-flaps will fix that. So I'm actually landing with a little bit of a tailwind here too. So you see how it's like it's struggling to come down and the nose is really low? That will help with anti-flaps to fix that, because it will increase the drag that I need. All right, and so as soon as that water sensor hit, notice it pushed the nose up. So we don't get that submarining that a lot of people get. Why is it sitting so tail low now? Huh. All right. So let's put some anti-flaps in here. And let's do a quick measure. That is a 7. Okay. So what we just want to do is look at the direction of the flaps. The arrow is going down, so we'll just make the arrow go up on these fins. And these are anti-flaps, so they add more drag and make the aircraft behave more realistically. All right, good. So those are going to be our anti-flaps. And so this will go to 0. Those will go to 0. They'll just work completely in opposition to it. That right there. And that's going to allow us to have a more nose-high attitude, which is where we'd be. Plus, it gives us a lot more drag, which is what we want. And then let's see if I got an XML block for this. I should. Should have 1x7 right there. All right, good. All right, good. So that's anti-flaps. Again, didn't mean to drop it like that. All right. Let's do a quick takeoff. I'll probably put fins in the tail too to counteract some of that, because if we're getting blown backwards, we're getting the tail dug under. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're hands off again. It's coming up on plane like a real flying boat would. I'm just using, as I'm thrusting up, I'm using some back pressure on the elevator. And there we go, we're unstuck. All right, I'm gonna thrust back a little, bring the thrust back a little bit. I'm gonna start going full flaps in here. All right, now before I wish I had looked at the trim number. Right now I haven't trimmed. All right, before it was trying to bring the nose way, way, way up with flaps. That's how much trim I need now. So you saw before I needed a ton of nose down trim with the flaps all the way down. Now I don't, because I have those anti-flaps in there. And so this is going to be a much more realistic behavior, because it's really increasing the drag by a lot. And so it's cutting down the lift and it's increasing the drag, and that's what we would want. That's giving me more realistic results. And now notice, see me descending with a much still nose down, but it's a much less nose down. This is how the plane would descend IRL. And that's what you want. You don't want to have to, dump the nose down. And so now, as you can see, I have actually a little bit of a nose up attitude as I land, which is where I want to be. So this is about the sight picture I want when I'm landing. So I'm just going to gently bring the thrust down just a touch, and I've got my nose just barely below the horizon, and we're going to come down. So just keeping it visually below the horizon. I've got a good power setting in for an approach speed. Just took a little bit more power out. As I bring out power, I need more nose up. And there we go. Very smooth. Yeah, so that's good. So that's what the anti-flap does. It gives you much more realistic behavior of flaps in game, just because they're a little bit not balanced. All All right, let's do this. For now, let's just make them visual. I'll change them later, probably. I don't. All right, put those there for now, and then what I'll do is I'll plumb those in to the fins here. All right, so this is going to also lift the back up as we're traveling through the water, and this is going to help with unsticking us from the water, because what's happening is we instantly go super duper fast as soon as the plane comes out of the water, so this is going to make it kind of skim across the water and be a little bit more more realistic. About 30% flat for takeoff is good. All right, so I'm going to thrust up with not touching anything other than thrust. So that's just thrust. All right. Now I'm back on the keyboard. I'm rolling. As I'm thrusting up more, right, I need some elevator. All right. So that's too much in the rear. Yeah, it's too much in the rear. All right, good. So what we'll do here is this. Yeah, it's definitely too much in the rear. So what we will do... The other thing, too, is these are often out of the water. Those are in the water, so that might have some problems with us here. Double up the fronts. See how that works for us. I'm also going to bring this back down. It's not dumping in the water so hard. And the other thing is, if the boat's blowing backwards, I need to make sure that the fins invert themselves, because it will drag me underwater. So. All right, gears up. All right, so hands off the keyboard. All I did was thrust up a little bit. I'm going to steer a little bit so I don't, with the rudder, I have a water rudder in there, so I can not crash into there. All right, so see how we're sitting really high up on the water now? So that's going to be less drag. And so now we're going to increase the thrust a little bit more. Now as we speed up a little bit, my control surfaces have more of an effect. Still not enough. All right, there we go. We're up and out of the water there. So I might try to do without the rear fins if I can avoid it. All right, good. Let's bring this back, and we'll do a speed test. It's very fast. All right, we'll get rid of those. Like, the other thing I could do is I could push them up further forward to decrease the lever arm, but we'll try with just fronts for now, and 2 in the front was working fine. I will stick with that for now. All right. See what I wanted to do. Speed. All right, that goes there. Here, let's just do this. I'll put an actual dial in here. All right, and then play for, let's see, probably another 15 or so minutes. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Yeah, if you had 4 engines or you had multiple engines, you really don't need a water rudder because you can do asymmetrical thrust. But, you know, it's hard in game just because I can't get my finger, you know, I'd have to set up a second thing for the second engine, and then I'd have to be able to sync them where, like in real life, it's really easy to get the thrust levers and twist them in your hand and get them synced up, so... Alright, so hands off right now, so it's just skimming. I'm touching nothing. I'm going to add a little bit of elevator pressure and add a little bit more thrust. And right out of the water. Flaps are coming up. We'll do a high-speed run. So this already has a constant speed propeller in there. Let me get it trimmed out, so we're pretty much level. We're trimmed out. So right now we're doing 187 knots. All right, so pretty good speed. Let's talk about how the propeller, how a constant speed propeller works super quick. How's it going there, Sergeant Chaos? How are you? So constant speed propeller, let me see if I can find some quick pictures. I've been doing this for a while in game where I simulate it. Trying to see if I can find the fly weights and everything. All right, here's a good picture of it. So here. So this is how it works IRL. So you have a prop governor. And essentially what happens is the faster, so this shaft here spins, right? And so the faster it spins, if you notice you have these pieces of metal here and here, right? The faster it spins, that metal, because of centrifugal force, is going to want to go outward, right? So when it will go outward, so this is on speed, you notice they're straight up and down. As you're going too fast, they go outward. They're being forced out. So this is going left, that one's going right. When you're under speed, they're going in, right? And so what you're doing is you're essentially using a prop control. You have the spring and flyweights. This is controlling those flyweights right here. And the prop is controlled via oil. So when you're on speed, it's not letting oil pass to the prop to turn the prop and change the pitch. When you're overspeeding, what it's going to do is it's going to add more drag on there, add more work, and what will happen is it will make the pitch, it'll take a bigger bite out of the air, and that will cause the propeller to slow down. When you go under speed and the prop, the engine's not moving as fast as you would like it to move, it's going to decrease the blade pitch so that the engine can speed back up, and ideally you want to stay on speed. And this is a really simple system where as those weights go in and out, it's letting oil in or it's taking oil out, or it's letting oil out, essentially. So that's how it works in real life. And so essentially what I'm doing is the same thing in game with a PID. I tell it, hey, I want this RPS. And it knows if I'm over the RPS that I asked for, right, over the set point, it's going to increase the pitch of the blade. If it's below, it's going to decrease the pitch of the blade. So that's what a prop lever does in an aircraft when you have a constant speed propeller. As you pull the as you pull the prop lever back, you're saying, hey, I want less speed to my engine. It's going to increase the blade pitch. That's going to increase efficiency. It's going to slow down the RPM of the engine because it's putting more load in the engine. You're going to burn less fuel. Now, you might lose some speed as well, but you're going to gain efficiency. And so you can actually go a lot further, but slower. When you take off, you want a very low prop pitch. And the reason is when you're taking off, it's important, or landing, taking off and landing, it's important to be able to make quick changes to the speed of your engine. So because I want to make my engine very dynamic and change speed very quickly, I want to be able to make those changes fast, and I need very little resistance from my propeller, and very little resistance means I need a very fine blade pitch, not a lot of pitch. This allows you to spin your engine up to very high RPM, and it lets you change that RPM very quickly. When you are taking a big bite out of the air, you can change it. It's putting a lot of load in your engine, and it takes it a lot longer for you to change the thrust of your engine. So now imagine you're coming into land and you're getting too slow, or you get a gust of wind and now you're going 10 knots too slow. Well, you're going to jam that thrust lever up, right? And what's going to happen is if you have too big of a blade pitch, it's going to take, say, 5 seconds for you to get the power you need. Well, you might crash. So by having that low pitch, high RPM setup, if you start going too slow because, say, a gust or you just get slow, you can push the thrust up and you almost instantly have more power. And so that's why you don't want a big bite out of the air when you're taking off or landing. Now that's going to be very inefficient, though. You're taking a small bite out of the air, and the engine is revving up very high. So you're not doing a lot of work, and you're burning a lot of fuel and making a lot of heat. And so that's fine because we talked about the safety reason you want that for takeoff and landing. But other than that, we don't want it. As soon as we get up in the air and we're away from the ground and safe, we want to start bringing our prop lever back, which is going to increase the pitch of the blade, which is now taking a bigger bite out of the air, reducing the RPS of the engine, and now we're running more efficiently. When we go up to cruise, we want to bring that prop lever back even more, and that's going to take a bigger bite out of the air, and it's going to slow the engine down even more so that we are burning less fuel. Now, at some point, we're going to get to the point where because the RPS is coming back so much, even though we're taking a bigger bite out of the air, we're going to end up going slower. But we're going to be burning, we might lose, say, 20% of our speed and gain 40% of our fuel efficiency. So our fuel might last 40% longer, but we might be going 20% slower. So we're still able to cover more distance in a shorter period of time because we don't have to stop to refuel. So keeping that in mind, we'll kind of go over, and I'll run the speed test real quick. All right, let's see what this question is here. Yeah, I don't know why people need to convert knots. Airplanes should be in knots. Yeah, oil has a bunch of benefits. You know, if you sprung a leak in your oil system, it would go high pitch, it would go low pitch, high RPM. It springs to a safe state. It's fail safe. All right, so now we're in our takeoff position, right? So we have high RPM, right? High RPM, low pitch on our blades. See, low pitch on the blades. So this is fine for taking off and landing, but we're burning a lot of fuel, and we're not going all that fast. Now I'm going to start bringing the prop back, the propeller back, which is going to increase the bite. Because I'm telling the system, hey, I want you to decrease the speed of the engine. So all it's saying is, hey, I want less RPS. And it's accomplishing that by increasing the blade pitch. And you notice we're going faster, right? Because our engine's still turning pretty fast, plus we're taking a bigger bite out of the air. So you have your takeoff setting, which is full forward on your prop lever. And then as you come back, you're going to do your max speed setting, essentially. And so we're just bringing the prop back, and this is going to give us the max speed because it's the bite. Oh, stand by. What's going on here? Something happened here. I don't know. Something happened there. I got to figure out what that was. And so what's essentially happening there is, as you're going to get to your max speed where you're at a good balance of the engine still turning pretty fast and the blade is still at a pretty good bite of the air. As you start to get past that point, you're going to start to get where you're loading your engine so much that the bite is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is efficiency, and the RPS is going down. And so what would have happened if I got to fix something? I think it's that light tail is screwing me, so I got to fix that. But I'm going to save this real quick, and then I got to jump off here soon. But so what you would, what's going to happen is you're going to go from, say, 187 knots to 250 knots, and then eventually you're going to keep increasing that blade pitch, and you're going to go down to, say, 210 knots. And your engine's going to be at a very, very low RPS, so you're burning very little fuel. You're going 210 knots instead of, say, 250 knots, but you're burning, say, half the fuel you would if you were at the 250, and you're burning even less fuel than if you're at the 187. So it's kind of, you'll see the charts on aircraft with constant speed propellers. It will tell you at what altitude, at what setting, if you want max range, max speed, where you should set your prop and your RPM up. All right, so made some good progress on this. I think we'll finish it up there. Go ahead and take a look at, I'll bring it up on the, go ahead and bring it up on screen here. I finished up my mining loader for Alistair's challenge. Make sure you go check out Alistair's challenge on his Discord. I'll bring up the workshop page. So here's the workshop page for it. It's on my Discord. Alistair's challenge is, the deadline's tomorrow at, I think, 8 p.m. my time. And you can go ahead and, after that, vote for your community favorite and go test out the builds. And then Alistair will hopefully get the video out pretty quick, because they're reduced the number of people he's putting in the video. So that should make it a little bit easier for him. And make sure you go and watch his video on that. But here's my loader for the challenge. This is what I did. I wanted to be realistic, so I kind of hid that drill in there. You can go test that out. But all right, guys, thank you. There's me. All right, guys, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give the video a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys next one. Thanks.